Welcome to the People Leaders Podcast, the audio resource for managers and business leaders creating high-performing teams. Join leadership and team development experts Jan and Michelle Turkelson each week as they explore both subjects from every angle. Through practical tips, valuable insights, and compelling interviews with leadership experts around the world, you'll learn how to bring out the best in your staff and how to give your best as a leader.
Hi Michelle. Hi Jan. What are we going to talk about today? Well, let's talk this over. All right. That sounds like we're extroverting. That's right. And that's what we're going to talk about. You know, what are the top 10 tips when communicating with extroverts? And why do we need to know this? Well, again, 50% of the population have that preference for extroversion. And as a people leader, you want to be able to communicate effectively with your whole team. And there's usually going to be a combination of both. That's right. And you want to bring out the best in everybody. Yeah. It really is about being an effective leader. Okay. All right. So let's start with tip number one. And tip number one when dealing or communicating with people with a preference for extroversion is deal with conflict and be willing to confront issues when they occur. So sometimes we can, and you know, this relates to a lot of types. It's not necessarily people with the opposite to extroversion, but it is important to deal with the conflict and be willing to confront issues when they occur. Don't just hide them under the carpet. Because with extroverts, they're usually action-oriented, and so this is being able to bridge that around dealing with something when it occurs. You may not be able to fully delve into the situation, but at least touch on it. Don't ignore it. Yeah, that's right. They'll definitely appreciate that. Tip 2, focus on discussing topics that you know well or have had a chance to consider, because this is going to, play to that extroverted sense of touching base with that person, communicating and building on ideas. And so if you can, focus on topics that you know well, then you'll have that level of energy and enthusiasm to bring into the conversation. Terrific. Tip number 3, when you're dealing with extroverts, look for networking opportunities where you can. Look out and try and find someone to help you make the links and the contacts. This is what extroverts love to do. This is what they're particularly good at. And this is what is going to strengthen your repertoire in the communication field by creating more networks. Just start with one. Just start with one person that you have developed a rapport with and move from there. Yeah. Tip 4, when communicating with extroverts, acknowledge that you're listening to them and use cues to show that you are preparing a response. Now, when we mean preparing a response, I'm not saying that you have to think about a response when that person is talking. It's just to demonstrate that you are listening. And sometimes it might be nodding your head, smiling, leaning forward, looking at them, in the eye. So I just want to take a time out here. So when we're giving all these tips, Jan, they're primarily focusing on people who have a preference for introversion. So that's who we're talking to, because extroverts will do all of this readily. So tip number 5, so express overt interest, like an enthusiasm in some way. And use your body, like just sort of lean forward a little bit. You could smile, maintain eye contact for a little bit longer, or nod. Just show overtly through your body language that you are paying attention or that you are expressing some sort of interest in what the person's talking about. And that leads to number 6. Tip 6 is provide immediate feedback and verbal acknowledgement when you're communicating with extroverts. Yep. Okay. And tip number 7, remember that others, meaning, people with preference for extroversion, think out loud. So don't assume that the words are well thought out every time, because really this is their thoughts. Yours are internal if you're an introvert, but we are hearing their thinking process. Correct. And that's why sometimes they come across as a little bit verbose and repetitive. And so it's just understanding that we are privy to their internal Yes, it's a privilege,
model.
isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, and so the same applies to, extroverts, is tell people that you're thinking out aloud, and remember that extroverts are thinking out aloud sometimes, so cut them a bit of slack.
Yeah. Tip 8, take initiative to introduce yourself or start a conversation. So if you're communicating with an extrovert, it just shows that you are willing to bridge, that you are willing to be a little bit, I suppose, enthusiastic to connect and communicate with them.
And tip number 9, just anticipate that the extroverts will want feedback and, be prepared to share more information sooner. People with a preference for extroversion, you're going to know pretty soon anyway.
Yeah.
So if you could share a little bit more information sooner, they are really going to appreciate that.
Yeah, and even feedback on a project that isn't finished yet,
Yeah,
for little milestones.
anything.
Oh, I received that email, I received that report.
Ticking along really nicely. Under control, anything is going to be better than nothing.
Because it buoys them, that gives them that enthusiasm to progress and move forward.
Yep.
It's like a shot of energy. And the final tip, number 10.
Yeah, so if you need, ask for time to think about something and then set a time to communicate. So you don't always have to respond here and now, because extroverts will want you to respond here and now. Just say, can I just have some time to prepare a response to that and I'll get back to you? Don't wait too long. It could be a minute or it could be an hour later, but just, ask for that.
Yeah, and that's it. Set a time.
Time.
Give me a minute. Give me till the end of the day.
Great.
Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Because I want to make sure that I give you the best answer that I can.
That's right.
And people with extroversion, usually.
Yeah, asking for time is okay.
Yeah.
But set a time, I think that's great. Great tip.
So all those tips, just notice, is there one thing that you can just flex and focus on, in the next coming week, and notice the change and, the impact that has on people that you manage.
Yes, good luck.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode of the People Leaders Podcast. For show notes and other resources, please visit us at peopleleaderspodcast.com. And while you're there, you can subscribe for future episodes so you can continue your own leadership journey. And please be sure to share this and other episodes with your friends and colleagues. The People Leaders Podcast is brought to you by the Experts on Air Podcast Network.